the Astroworld crowd surge tragedy, and Travis Scott. There's no experience quite like a big outdoors concert or music festival, is there? The vibrations, the crowds, the lights, the music, the refreshments. It truly is an undeniable experience that everyone should have at least once in their lives. Just a grand, fun, harmless time. Until, of course, it isn't. Sometimes the party can get a little too wild and hairy, and insufficient security measures and planning can end in thousands of property damage and many people injured, and even worse, tragic deaths. It's called crowd surging, when an overcapacity event becomes even more overcapacity from a rush of people trying to get in or to simply get closer to the main stage, creating an avalanche of human bodies that crush against each other. The last instance of one of these terrible events will be the subject of today's show. Welcome to MoolaTV, and today we'll be talking about Astroworld, the massive concert festival featuring star rapper and center of its controversy, Travis Scott. What happened? Who's responsible? What could be done or could have been done to avoid this type of catastrophe? What could you do in the next massive event you attend to stay safe? Let's find out. But before we start, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss one of our videos. Travis Scott, the star of the show. If we're going to talk about Astroworld, we would be doing the story a disservice without mentioning its headlining artist, rap sensation of the last decade, Travis Scott. Jacques Berman Webster II, known professionally as Travis Scott, formerly Travis Scott, is an American rapper and record producer. In 2012, he signed his first major label contract with Epic Records. In November of the same year, Scott signed a publishing deal with Kanye West's Good Music as part of its production wing Very Good Beats. In April 2013, Scott signed a recording contract with T.I.'s Grand Hustle imprint. Scott's first full-length project, the mixtape Owl Pharaoh, was self-released in 2013. It was followed with a second mixtape, Days Before Rodeo, in August 2014. His debut studio album, Rodeo, was led by the hit single Antidote. His second album, Birds in the Trap Sing McKnight, became his first #1 album on the Billboard 200. The following year, Scott released a collaborative album with Quavo titled Huncho Jack, Jack Huncho, under the group name Huncho Jack. In 2018, his third studio album, Astroworld, was released to massive critical acclaim and produced his first Billboard Hot 100 #1 single, Sicko Mode, featuring Drake. In late 2019, Scott's record label Cactus Jack Records released the compilation album Jack Boys, which became the first #1 album on the Billboard 200 of the 2020s. After the release of his single Franchise, featuring Young Thug and MIA, in September of 2020, Scott became the first artist on the Hot 100 to have 3 songs debut at #1 in less than a year. He has been nominated for 8 Grammy Awards and won a Billboard Music Award and a Latin Grammy Award. Needless to say, a massive success. Travis Scott has even had franchise deals with such industry titans as Fortnite, McDonald's, PlayStation, and Nike. Of course, his career has not always been free of controversy, even before the most recent one in his Astroworld concert. They might even sound familiar. Scott's performances have experienced a number of issues. At Lollapalooza in 2015, Scott was charged and arrested for disorderly conduct after inciting concertgoers to ignore security and rush the stage. That same year, at the open-air festival in Switzerland, he encouraged fans to attack a man who took his shoe while he was crowd surfing by stopping the crowd and repeatedly telling the crowd to, I can't say that on a good, clean YouTube show, screw him up, while also spitting on him. In 2017, he was arrested for similar conduct to his Lollapalooza behavior after a performance in Northwest Arkansas. That same year, a fan sued Scott and the organizers of a 2017 concert at Terminal 5 in Manhattan after falling from a balcony and being dragged on stage, blaming the fall on a crowd surge. Then, as recently as November 5th of 2021, the tragedy at Astroworld. Astroworld. Callous disregard. 50,000 fans attended Scott's Astroworld festival with the expectation that they would be safe from harm. Paying upwards of $365 for a ticket, the event should have been a hip-hop lover's dream, especially for those who had yet to attend a concert in Houston, Texas, since COVID took hold. This turned out to be the complete opposite for masses of the rapper's fans. Video footage from the event shows various pockets of the audience in distress as staff and concertgoers stand oblivious further down the field. By the first song, eyewitnesses described finding it difficult to breathe, and less than an hour later several people had suffered serious injuries, some entering cardiac arrest. And this was even before the crowd rush. At least 10 people died, and hundreds were injured in a crowd surge crush moving toward the stage during Scott's performance at the festival in Energy Park in his hometown of Houston, Texas. Injuries included various cases of heart attack. On the first night, a crowd crush occurred, resulting in the deaths of at least 9 people and the cancellation of the second night of the festival. In video footage of the incident, Scott is seen doing the following: continuing to perform despite chants from the crowd pleading for him to stop, observing at least one audience member had been hurt, then ordering security for a brief moment to help, jump in real quick, keep going, only to continue with the rest of the show for the following hour, encouraging people to get wild and crazy with callous disregard for the situation he could very clearly see was unfolding, despite an ambulance passing through the crowd that was pulling out lifeless bodies. Victims killed ranged from 9 to 27 years old. In the aftermath of the crush, news outlets highlighted Scott's history of dangerous disregard for audience safety. Rolling Stone featured a statement from a fan who had been paralyzed during a 2017 show. The New York Times took note of Scott's 2015 guilty plea for reckless endangerment after he encouraged fans to climb security barricades. Most outlets agreed all of this damage was preventable. Among other points of criticism was the painfully unself-aware fact that Scott did halt one of his performances in 2015 when an audience member stole his shoe, ordering the crowd to beat up the person responsible. At the moment of writing, Scott claims he will cover funeral costs for each victim. What could have been done? Simple. A show stop. You or any regular concert goer is likely to have experienced one at least once. The stage lights go up, the performer uses their influence to tell everybody to take a few steps back in order to free up room for fans that look like they are struggling, dehydrated, or even unconscious. Its guiding principle is simple. If they don't listen to the person they are paying to see, the show stops. The whole operation takes less than a minute in most instances because fans are willing to listen. Show stops are a relatively new invention in the world of live music. First pioneered by Steve Allen, head of crowd safety, a UK-based consultancy firm that has overseen audience protection for the likes of Eminem, Kasabian, and the Red Hot Chili Peppers. His greatest challenge landed with a number of years spent heading tour safety for Britpop legends Oasis. When he was doing Oasis years ago in the late 90s, their crowd would often go far too mental. It was absolute full-on energy, and he claims to have had a genuine belief that people were going to die. Something desperately needed to change. It was then that Allen conceived of a process for future artists to follow that was circulated throughout the industry. I know what can happen. I was there at Roskilde, a Danish festival where 10 people died during a Pearl Jam performance, in the morning after that death, and I gave the technical reasons why Oasis wouldn't be performing. The grief, the tears, the priests on stage, I have seen it all. Videos of crowd surges at Oasis's stadium concerts are frequently used in crisis training. Allen has stopped concerts upward of 25 times in his career. None of them fell into the criteria of a bum shout, an industry term for halting a performance without good reason to, subsequently disrupting the flow. With crowds in distress, it doesn't matter how big you are. You could be 6'6" and 300 pounds, you are not getting out of there. The only way you're getting out of it is if it's being stopped. In contrast, the 56-page event operations plan for the Astro-world Music Festival included protocols for dangerous scenarios including an active shooter, bomb or terrorist threats, and severe weather, but it did not include information on what to do in the event of a crowd surge. Videos of artists from all genres calling for said show stops have reached every corner of the internet as grieving people seek evidence that the tragedy could have been dealt with differently. What can you do at your next event? These might all seem a tad too obvious and simple, but could very well be the difference between an evening ruined or something much, much worse. Before attending the festival or concert, wear sneakers, gym shoes, or high tops, footwear that reduces your chances of slipping and can help you navigate through crowds. You need stability on your feet if you need to exit quickly, Wertheimer says. Don't wear expensive jewelry or anything you'll regret losing in a packed stadium room environment. It's easily torn off. If you're wearing jeans or pants, put your phone, money, and other essential items in your front pockets. That way they're less likely to fall out or get stolen. Eat properly before or at the event, and make sure you're hydrated with water. Carry an ID and any prescription medicine you may need with you. If accompanied by a child, write your phone number on their arm or on a bracelet in case you get separated. When at the event, Don't drink too much, and don't lose sense of your surroundings. Visualize an escape plan if something goes wrong. Know where the exits are. Conventional wisdom says take the closest exit, but that doesn't always work at concerts because that's where the crush is. You want to know where all exits are because exits further away may be better. You don't want to follow the crowd surge going one route. Stay on the outer edges of large crowds to reduce your chances of getting caught in a crush. Avoid the mosh pit. Once you enter such a crowd, you no longer have control over your environment. How you move, for instance, is no longer dictated by how you want to move, but rather how the crowd is moving you, says Rami Hashish, a body performance and injury expert. A piece of your jewelry falls to the ground. Think twice about going down to look for it. You can get trampled. Necklaces can also harm you when they get entangled with other things during a crowd surge. If you find yourself in the middle of a dense crowd, protect your head and stay on your feet. Upwards of 60% of injuries in mosh pits are to the head. These can range in severity from a bump or bruise to a traumatic brain injury, and can be the result of flailing arms, getting pushed into another person, or falling to the ground. To stay balanced in a packed crowd and also protect your heart and lungs from pressure, put your arms up and strike a pose like a boxer. If you find yourself in a crowd surge, conserve your oxygen. Don't yell or scream. No one can hear you and you're giving up vital oxygen, Wertheimer says. Once you deplete your oxygen, your chances of fainting are higher, and once you hit the ground, you're trapped. Conserve your energy. Don't fight a crowd surge. You can't resist thousands of pounds of pressure. As much as you can, move with the crowd, not against it. If you use up your energy, you'll likely end up in the same position as someone who's lost their oxygen, unconscious. If you fall to the ground, get in the fetal position. Make sure your left side is on the ground. That way you're protecting your heart and lungs as best as you can. They're farthest away from the crush in that position, Wertheimer says. If you fall on your stomach or back, people will fall on you and you can suffocate. Use your arms and hands to protect your head. Most importantly, trust your instincts, experts say. If you feel a crowd is getting too rowdy or tightly packed, that's your cue to head to the fringes or leave before things get out of control. So, what do you think? Is the media overreacting, or could this all have been avoided with some simple measures? Let us know down in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss any of our videos.